And hello, sir. We haven't met in person.
Hi Dennis, how's it
How do
going?
you do?
Not too
Great.
fun.
I just yeah, give you a quick rundown on a background that you're the deputy operating officer for the Dam Safety and Capital Delivery Division of Valley Water, and you've been with Valley Water for 16 years, working on both the water utility and watershed capital projects. And you'd previously been an assistant operating officer for the water utility capital division and the deputy operating officer for the treated water delivery division. And now you're the dam guy.
I am the damn guy.
Yeah, the deputy of dam safety. And with oversight of 10 of Valley Water's dams, as well as the effort towards the expansion of the Pacheco Reservoir. And yeah, obviously, and then you're involved in a 6.1 billion 5-year rolling capital improvement program. So that's a huge scale. And then today, well, I mean, I'm sure you have a presentation, but it seems like most of the focus has been on Anderson. And, so it'd be interesting to hear about the past, present, and future of Anderson Dam.
That's what I'm here for. It is Valley Water's number one priority, so I'll go ahead and share my screen and get this presentation rolling, and hopefully
Okay, I'm
everybody.
just,
Let's see here. Okay, Anderson Dam Seismic Retrofit Project. So hopefully I'll fill in all the gaps for anyone who's unfamiliar. Um, Starting with a brief overview of the project, Anderson Dam is Valley Water's largest groundwater recharge reservoir. It's one of 10, as you heard. Basically, all 9 of our other reservoirs could fit inside the footprint of Anderson at 90,000 acre feet, a little under actually. It's the largest by far. We've been under restricted capacity since about 2009 at about 58% capacity. That's about 50,000 acre feet. So there's about 40,000 acre feet of water that we haven't been able to take advantage of for over a decade now. In 2012, after a seismic analysis was conducted in 2011, we determined the seismic retrofit was necessary. The dam was built in 1950, so it wasn't anything major in terms of a problem that had crept up as much as it was the dam was just not up to current seismic standards. Obviously, we've learned a lot about how dams perform in seismic events since the 50s. So it was time to have a kind of a facelift and retrofit on the project. So the project was started in 2012, and it was originally going to be a much smaller, quicker project, and I'll kind of hit that on the next slide, but it kind of expanded. And then just February 20th of this year, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, gave us an order that basically bifurcated the project and did some other things. And I'll talk about that a little bit in the upcoming slide as well. So let's take a look at how Anderson looks today. You have a spillway on your upper left. The original plan when it came to the retrofit was just to patch and repair the spillway in place. That was all well and good until 2017. I think a lot of people are familiar with what happened at Orville. Right after that, DWR, Department of Water Resources for California's Department of Safety of Dams, DSOD, completely revised all the spillway design criteria across the state. As a result, this project will no longer just patch and repair. It'll be a full replacement of the spillway to meet current standard. We also have a very small outlet pipe that runs under the dam embankment. You can see that dashed line running through the center of the slide. The capacity on that's about 500 CFS. Compared to the 89,000, 90,000 acre foot capacity, it's like punching a little straw in a large 55-gallon garbage can, basically. It's not a very effective way for maintaining the level of the reservoir. So that was something that was going to be addressed. You can see our dam embankment and our dam crest. Basically, the dam crest is just the roadway that moves over the top of the embankment. The original plan was for a 3-year construction project just to buttress the dam, downstream face of the dam with some additional material, kind of a standard retrofit. Unfortunately, after some seismic analysis that was done in 2016 or 2017, we discovered that there was additional liquefaction potential. Not sure how technical the crowd that's watching is, but just in case anyone needs to know what liquefaction is, think about Jello or pudding, whatever flavor you like better. And basically during a seismic event, that embankment gets that consistency and it drops about 20 feet. So the revised project, we're going to remove the entire portion of the embankment that does have the liquefiable material, replace it with suitable materials. That is basically taking it down to its clay core. That extended the project from probably about 3 years to 5 years. We're going to replace the spillway in its entirety, like I mentioned earlier, as well as construct a new low-level outlet pipe. As I said, the existing pipe's about 500 CFS. Ultimately, the new low-level outlet will have capacity up to 6,000 CFS. It goes around through the left abutment, or excuse me, the right abutment on the left side of the dam. And basically that's so that it won't be, subsequent seismic events won't have the potential to damage the outlet pipe if the dam embankment does move at all. We've actually allowed for 4 foot of movement in either horizontal or vertical direction. So within the outlet pipe is situated within a 24-foot diameter tunnel. So that should be very redundant and seismically sound. We'll have a temporary diversion system in place to drain the reservoir during construction, and then we're going to put a high-level outlet pipe in. That's a new requirement from DSOD that didn't exist in the 1950s as well. And that high-level outlet will be able to drain the reservoir about 30% of the capacity of the reservoir in about 7 calendar days. So what happened on February 20th? The project has been a long time in development. Looking at the scope and schedule and not getting out to construction previously, FERC was very, how shall we say, uncomfortable with the potential to the risk to the downstream community. Seeing Oroville and the potential for catastrophic failure of a dam at capacity, FERC said, well, we know you're working hard on the project, but we really think that the best, safest mode for the project is to be completely empty if possible. Completely empty is not possible, but we can get it down to dead pool, which is about 3% of capacity. The dam crest is at about 647 for an elevation, and dead pool is all the way down at 488. When they issued the order on February 20th, we were in winter operations, and our restricted level was 592 feet. They immediately restricted us down to a lower level, which we were already in compliance with, 565 feet. Directed us to begin draining down to dead pool, 3% of capacity, starting October 1st, so a couple months back. We also had to develop a plan to maintain that level as water inflow came in, so we did that as well. And they wanted us to expedite construction of the low-level tunnel. So the tunnel is what you see on the screen right now. The final configuration of the tunnel will have that capacity up to 6,000 CFS. In the interim condition, what we're building now, or intend to build soon, it'll be capped at about 2,000 CFS. And part of that is because the downstream creek can't handle that capacity of 6,000 CFS at this moment. We've got some upgrades being worked on, planned, and designed right now. And then the last thing in the directive that they gave us, and probably the most important, was to continue to move the seismic retrofit project forward, complete the design, get the permits in hand, so that we're ready to go once the tunnel is complete to do the overall retrofit. So our response, as I said, we were in immediate compliance with the new restriction. We created a specific Anderson Dam Tunnel project, which is that low-level outlet tunnel construction project that we're currently out basically finalizing our plans, getting ready to bid and go out to construction in the first part of 2020. As a result of the Anderson Dam Tunnel project, we had to create a larger Federal Energy Regulatory Commission order compliance project. Lots of acronyms at Valley Water. It's the FOCP, just to make it short. And that's because to actually utilize the tunnel to discharge at above 500 CFS, there are impacts to the downstream creek community ecologically. There are some things that need to be dealt with. We have groundwater recharge as well. So this Federal Energy Compliance Project, regulatory project, is a larger umbrella containing several kind of sub-projects. It actually has 11 elements over 4 distinct areas, and it's actually on the next slide I'll show you. Our board of directors approved and certified the CEQA exemption for the FOCP in June, as well as the engineer's report. And then we were moving forward with an Assembly Bill AB 3005 in the California State Legislature. That was for best value construction, so that when we did go into the seismic retrofit project, this wasn't low bid. Low bid is what the standard is in the public contracting community. Unfortunately, there are some things where it's more prudent to have a little bit of a different criteria for evaluation. That was a recommendation from our independent board of consultants that participates in the project as part of the FERC process, and we believe it's the right thing to do. So we had introduced that bill, or co-sponsored that bill, Unfortunately, due to somewhat of an error, it got vetoed at last minute. So it's going to be reintroduced this year coming up. And we've had some discussions with all of the people in play and believe that it's got a very good chance of passing. So I talked about the FOCP and those 11 distinct elements. They're listed here on the page. I'll leave it up for a second. I don't want to go into every element. Some of the subsequent slides I will show will kind of talk about some of the different things you'll plan to see. Basically, what we are is drain the reservoir, construct the tunnel, and deal with all of the different operational impacts of what that means. So what does that mean? This is the last time Anderson was drained. It was 1987, so quite a while ago, 30 plus years. We will not see this condition until probably about 2024. The immediate FERC directive that takes us down to dead pool still leaves about 3% of the water body, which is actually as big as our Stevens Creek Reservoir. So basically, if you look at this outline of Anderson Reservoir as a whole that kind of goes off the screen, you'll see that highlight in kind of a bright green, fluorescent green. That's the footprint of dead pool. So while very small in comparison to the reservoir capacity, still a substantial portion of water that will be there. So you won't see that muck and dry scenario that we saw in '87 until after the tunnel is complete and we move into the overall size of retrofit project. Prior to draining to dead pool, one of the impacts that we were looking to mitigate is the the downstream fish community. There is federally listed steelhead in that downstream creek in that cold water management zone. So we did conduct some fish rescue in August. I'm gonna play a short video. And I basically will be silent so you guys can take in the majesty of our fish rescue, but I'll comment a little on it after. So as you can see, our staff did a really good job of getting out there and performing this fish rescue. COVID tends to warp my sense of time. So if any of you out there are like me, you might not recall that in August 2020, basically the whole state of California was on fire. So they're all wearing their PPE due to COVID, but they actually had to wrestle with poor air conditions. It got up to about 115 degrees out there with a particulate index up to 200. So the fish in those kind of coolers that were temperature controlled and oxygenated had a kind of a better environment to, live in than our staff out there that was conducting the rescue activities. It was actually an evacuation zone during part of the rescue, so they were forced to pull off, but they persevered and got it done. So what other kind of impacts are we going to see? Although the reservoir won't be completely dry, like in this picture, boating will not be allowed. Basically, we'll be below the boat ramp, boat dock locations, and that's actually one of the questions we get most. A lot of the community out there is confident that we'll get the seismic retrofit project done, that will keep the community safe. But what they like to know is, when am I going to be able to get my boat back in the reservoir? And unfortunately, the answer we are looking at now is probably not for another decade. It'll be somewhere close to the end of 2020s before they can go out boat again. What we learned from 1987 as well is if we drain the reservoir too quickly, we have the potential for rim instability, landslides around the perimeter of the reservoir. As a result, we've worked with FERC this time around to agree on a drawdown rate of a net 100 CFS that will prevent some of these slides and instabilities from occurring. The drawdown is currently underway. We haven't seen any of the slide potential, so the plan that we put in place so far, so good. We'll also be taking some remedial measures during summer in order to stabilize some of these areas so that in the future, the drawdown rate doesn't have to be limited. As I said, we are also going to have discharge into the downstream creek, potentially up to 2,000 CFS, actually 2,500 when you count the existing outlet, which is about 5 times the capacity of what's there now. Down in Coyote Creek, there are sections of the creek where that will create flooding, and because that is the case, we are looking at either building flood walls or berms under certain sections of the downstream creek, or even possibly elevating homes. I think there's about a dozen homes that we're looking at potentially elevating if that's what the homeowner would like to do, and that is to keep that community safe in the event that additional discharge is coming through the creek. So why has it taken so long? Well, beyond the scope expanding quite a few times over the course of the project, we deal with a plethora of agencies. As you can see from the list of our federal, state, county, and city agencies that are all involved, there's over a dozen different agencies which have input and some sort of authority over the project. That, of course, boils into a great deal of permits that we need for both at the federal and state level. For the bifurcation of the project and the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission Order Compliance Project, the FOCP, it's actually under federal emergency declaration right now. So we're moving through that process. We have some of our federal permits already taken care of through our consultation process. We've worked with the state as well, but we do still need to get all of these same permits for the Anderson Dam Size Retrofit project. I don't know if you've ever tried to agree with, just your family or friends on dinner. That can be a bit of an undertaking when you look at this many agencies dealing with kind of disparate wants and needs. It does take quite a long time. Based on that, our schedule is to go out to construction for the Anderson Dam Tunnel project, which is the FOCP element, at the start of 21. We expect that construction will be about 2 to 3 years, basically potentially winding up being concluded around 2024. The reservoir will be drained down to the elevation 488 dead pool during that time. Immediately after, we'll start site preparations and roll into the overall seismic retrofit project. I don't pay a lot of attention to the schedule on the bottom just because it's so far out with so many different things that still need to be finalized. We're actually hoping to compress that schedule. Right now, it shows completion somewhere in 2031. We're hoping to get it back in line to more of 2028, 2029. And I believe that ends my presentation. I'll be open for questions if we have time. Otherwise, all of this material is available on our website. We do have a project page that's there that does have this presentation as well as several others that I've given. We try to have virtual updates to the community at least 3 times a year, if not more. So if there are any additional questions, please feel free to check out our different resources that we have online.